We'll start off with Daniel Jones, who had a very good game for the Colts in week one, nearly 30 fantasy points in a win over the Miami Dolphins. Now, he does have a tough matchup in week two against Denver, but Jones should still be added in many fantasy leagues. And how about Aaron Rodgers? Did he look washed up? He did not look washed up to me. 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, nearly 26 fantasy points. This was Rodgers' best stat line basically in the last 3 years, and it's a promising sign that maybe he could be fantasy relevant in 2025. The only running back I have on the list is Dylan Sampson. He was listed on the waiver wire column last week, and he ended up leading the Browns backfield in touches and fantasy points. And while they could be getting Quinshon Judkins back as soon as week 2, Sampson has certainly earned a big role as a pass catcher in this backfield. So pick up Dylan Sampson. Now to the wide receivers, and there are several, and we're going to start with Hollywood Brown. He became the top option for the Chiefs at wide receiver when Xavier Worthy went out, and now he's going to miss time, which means Brown is going to be a very targeted player for Patrick Mahomes. Last week, 16 targets and 10 catches. If Brown's on your waiver wire, I'd pick him up now and potentially start him against Philadelphia. Moving on to another AFC West team and the LA Chargers. How about Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen? Johnston was amazing last week, 2 touchdowns, nearly 25 fantasy points, and he didn't drop too many passes, which is huge for him. Maybe this is the season that Johnston puts it all together and becomes fantasy relevant. And now let's go to Keenan Allen, his teammate. Now, he's not available in a ton of leagues, but he's available in enough leagues where I should be mentioning him here. He had 10 targets, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns last week. And guys, Justin Herbert loves him. Remember, they have a great rapport from Allen's first stint in LA. So pick up Keenan Allen. Cedric Tillman was one of my favorite deep sleepers back in the preseason. In week 1, he had 5 catches and scored a touchdown with over 16 fantasy points. And when you look at the targets, 8 opportunities from Joe Flacco, which was tied for the second most on the team. He's a young, talented wide receiver. I think Tillman should be added in most fantasy leagues. And the same goes for Calvin Austin. I also had him listed in my Stardom Situm column last week over at Sports Illustrated. He came out and had 6 targets, 4 catches, scored a touchdown, and 17 fantasy points against the Jets. He clearly has the trust of Rodgers, and that's big. I'm picking up Calvin Austin. And then finally at tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. This kid looked phenomenal in week 1. 9 targets, 7 catches, 63 yards, and nearly 14 fantasy points. Now, I do wonder if he'll be consistent because David Njoku is the #1 tight end in Cleveland, but if the Browns run a lot of 12 personnel, then Harold Fannin could have some fantasy value this season.